This is the type of movie I'm so here for. You feel claustrophobic throughout the entire movie. You're not in a small space. These three people together just make you feel claustrophobic. Look, if you're new here, I like to cover off movies that maybe get a little bit less coverage or not as talked about as I think they should be, and really just try and find some hidden gems to, one, for myself, but two, maybe get them on your lists. That being said, on with the review. Windfall. Windfall intrigued me really just down to the basis that Jason Segel was going to play an antagonist in a movie. I've seen him in a lot of comedy. He's mostly known for it. He's very funny, likeable and goofy in almost everything I've seen. He can be quite menacing, I thought. He's got the height for it, the stature for it, and I'm so here for that. And he played it beautifully in this movie, because you still kind of like him, even though he is there to rob. So, the plot of this movie. Jason Segel here, he is here to rob Jesse Plemons, who is a tech mogul. He's worth millions. He's robbed one of his kind of vacation homes, thinking he wouldn't have been there. Turns out, him and his wife came back. This movie centres around really just these three characters constantly negotiating, whether it's financial or just the current circumstances and how they deal with it. Whether that's even just something as small as going to the bathroom. Jason Segel needs to be in full control of the room and see them at all times. Of course he does. He wants to get out of this with the money and whatever else he needs. Jesse Plemons and his wife, played by Lily Collins, they're trying to obviously get out of this. He wants to save his money, and the dialogue throughout each of these negotiations is phenomenal. Now, we've seen Jason be really funny, so it was really nice to see him come in and not be as funny, whereas Jesse Plemons, on the other hand, he's kind of known to not be the best guy. We've seen him be portrayed as a little bit of a villain, I think we'd say. You've seen Like Mike, haven't you? He is a dick in that movie, and I've never liked him since then. Now, this is a very Hitchcock feel, this movie. Both how it's shot and the score throughout this movie, which I fully get is not for everybody, but it really works for me. I fucking loved it. That score and setting up the movie, these just long uninterrupted shots of the house or just the land around the house, I thought were beautiful and added into that kind of claustrophobic idea. Even though they're not trapped in just one little room, there's this huge expanse, but it just goes to show that there's no one around them. You know, they have all this area just to these three characters. So we don't quite know what Jason Segel's here for. Of course he robbed the house and he was there to get a little bit of money, but during these negotiations, Jesse Plemons is obviously kind of probing him a little bit more to work out what it is he wants exactly. Whether it is just money, maybe it's revenge. Maybe he worked for Jesse and was made redundant, so this is his own kind of get back and he feels he's owed it. And it's never answered in the movie. And that works in the movie's favour, I feel, because it helps those negotiation scenes that we don't know his angle. They even mention at one point whether it's for maybe a family member or there's somebody that he needs to get the money for. Maybe hospital bills or something like that. We don't know. So whenever they're negotiating and you see that blank stare and that kind of smirk coming across Jason's face, you just know that Jesse is not getting through to him and he will not show his cards whatsoever. Yeah, Jesse reacts fair for most of them, but his true colours start to come out and he is a bit of a prick, let's be honest. He's worth millions, but it feels like he was a prick even before he got the millions. And his wife, she's kind of mediating between the two, trying to strike that balance of, whilst they don't know what each other is willing to give or wants, she's constantly trying to find the middle ground between the two of them. And the difference in worldviews between Jason Segel and Jesse Plemons is so amplified when it's interjected by like Jesse's wife, who's almost be the moral compass of the two of them. You could argue that both of them are equally antagonists in this movie, to a degree, of course. Lily is married into this life. This hasn't went the way she hoped, and you see that in her and some of the throwaway references and things that are said, and she's not happy. One thing I think the movie, and it thankfully only really came in at the start, where Jason's trying to take control or kind of manage a situation, and I think it's just one of those typecast things that, because I know him from so much comedy, that a few of the things he was doing I just felt had that comedy twist when it shouldn't have. I genuinely don't think it was intentional. It's just him being him. He's a naturally funny guy, but when he turns on the sinister or he turns on that menacing attitude, you fucking feel it. He's got the stature, the build, the height for it, and he can fucking act it so well. I want to see more of Jason Segel as a bad guy because he's very charismatic. I don't know why I've not seen more of him like this. As the movie progresses, you see the pressures on both of their situations growing more. It's Jesse and Lily being held hostage, or it's Jason just wanting to get out of this situation as fast as he can. He needs to wait for a few things, but clearly the pressure's building on him in managing these two and controlling what's happening. And he starts growing a bond with Lily. Jesse's obviously aware of this. All in their own way are kind of opening up to each other throughout this movie. I won't spoil the ending. Hell, there's not even a big twist as such much in this movie. It really is just three characters in a home trying to get out of this situation. But it's beautifully shot, beautifully acted as well. The ambiguity throughout this movie just serves it so well that it keeps you on edge for the entire movie. I will say I had that suspense, that kind of Hitchcockian suspense. For a movie that I would say is quite slow, it's paced so well. I never got bored at any point through this. I get why it might not be for everyone, certainly with the musical score that comes in and just some of those long shots. You don't see it all the time now. So I think that's why people might not be a fan of it. It's something that they're not used to. But genuinely, for my own opinion and where I would be putting this one, easily say make time for this movie. It has got great chemistry throughout the movie. The three characters and their own kind of selfish goals and needs, whether it's unanswered or not, they're acted so well and not calling each other's bluff. So you don't know whether they're being fully honest or not. Just because it's not answered doesn't take away from the movie. These aren't questions that are that important or fly in the face of the narrative that we've just had. They're just these little things that keep you going and keep you ticking over. To see Jason try to control the circumstances, not physically control these two, but get out with what he wants, not be giving away too much information. He's clearly out of his depth trying to take care of this, and it's great even seeing him learning as he goes. Look, that was just some of my thoughts here on Windfall. Have you seen it? Please do let me know down below if we agree or disagree. And if you are new here, hit subscribe. I've got plenty more coming out and it'd be awesome to have you around. Thanks so much for watching.